uncut my hair.
Yeah, hello Andrew. How are you doing? You're live.
Oh, hey JB. Hey, I'm good, man. I'm good, brother. How are you?
I'm good.
Listen, right now during this time, that this is, I mean, this is really an unprecedented time in history, and I think that um, I'm trying to keep busy doing a lot of things with obviously hobbies and arts and photography,
Yeah,
and I'm a writer as well.
yeah.
So, but I'm also spending a lot of time being very still,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been doing meditating and really
Yeah, yeah,
trying to kind of get my head around the fact that we're in a living point in history right now. Like we can look at these kind of historical things that happened,
yeah,
100 years ago and see the cover of newspapers that were out during these times, but
yeah.
the newspaper from us today is going to
Mm.
be around in maybe 50 years. People are going to be looking at this time that kind of the world stood still and people had to kind of all face this thing together. So in as horrible and sad of a time that it is that this COVID-19 is happening and there's sick people and people dying and
Yeah.
everything. I'm always kind of the fair optimist, and I think if there's any bright side, that perhaps it's that it's kind of crossed borders and cross cultures and has kind of unified people in the way that this thing that doesn't discriminate, and we all the only way to get through this is by working together and everybody doing the synchronistically doing the same thing, which is following all the recommendations of staying home. And so in a kind of a weird way,
Mm.
I'm sitting at home in Vancouver, Canada, in front of my computer,
Yeah,
and so are you, and so is everybody else, and
yeah,
we're all experiencing this kind of time together. So
yeah.
the least that we could do to honor the lives of people that are healthcare workers and people that are sick is
Frontliners.
to make some kind of joy from it and some love come from it.
Yeah. Give us a
Yeah.
brief background how you started with magic.
Oh boy, sure. Yeah, for sure. And it's interesting that you say that because when I meet people these days, because I have had a few different careers simultaneously.
Yeah.
When I meet people, I'm not exactly sure how they know me. If it's from either me being on TV for magic or seeing a show of me in a theater as a hypnotist or a photographer, or now I'm acting, so they've seen me through acting somehow, or it's a musician. So there's like weird things where I don't really quite know people. The hardest question for me to answer is when people say, "So what do you do?" And I'm like, "Oh, geez, I don't know." I can do those five things and then nothing else. But to answer your question, I guess I got involved in magic. I won't bore you with a lot of the other stuff because I know a lot of magicians are watching. So we'll just stick with the magic stuff for now. My
Okay.
father was a magician.
Really?
So my first experiences, and my grandfather. My grandfather was not so much a magician, but he was a card cheat. So he was, he was Polish Ukrainian, and so he was the one who taught me how to like deal seconds and how to steal watches when I was like 9 years old.
Ah, that's so
So
cool.
um, yeah, and my father, who was a magician, never allowed me to get into magic. He wanted me to kind of see magic and to experience magic.
Yeah.
Not as a magician when I was very young. So I think my first experience with magic was, I remember my third birthday. I had a birthday party. My dad was there, and he pulled a white rabbit out of a hat,
Classic.
and and that was my pet. And so I named that rabbit Thumper. He said, "What do you want to call him?" And I said, "Thumper." And he goes, "Why do you want to call him Thumper?" I said, "Because I saw him thumping and keep moving the hat back and forth. Everyone else was watching something else. I was watching the hat. I saw the rabbit move." And so my dad said, "Okay, maybe you are a magician after all. You're not getting misdirected, looking at the wrong thing." So yeah, and my father had a library. I see books behind you, and I'm trying to scope in to see what you've got because I love books, and I grew up reading a ton of
Yeah.
books. Yeah, just a little, but so my dad had a library, and he had a book in his library. And I was never allowed to go through the books or read them. But when I was old enough, I was kind of like snooping through one day, and he caught me, and he gave me a good whack because it was the 70s. And the page I was reading, he tore it out of the book and he gave it to me.
Mhm.
And he said, "Here, you want it here?" And he gave me just this one page, and I went to my room, and it basically described
Yeah.
a second deal. It said method, and it described the second deal. It was the end of a page. It was blank in there. So I'm like, what's the trick? I just knew how to do a second deal, but I didn't know what to do with it.
Mm.
So I had this thing where I knew that I could keep the card on top of the deck, and I was like,
Yeah.
huh. So I was quite young, so I would start making up tricks on my own. And I go to my aunts and say,
Yeah.
"Tell me to stop," and then you go, "Stop." And I go, "9 of clubs," and then she goes, "That's amazing." I go, "She goes, do it again." I go, I got to think about how I can do this again because I had to look at the card. So I'm like,
Yeah.
So I said, give me a second. So I went back and worked on that.
Yeah.
And then ended up kind of coming up with what we now call subtleties in magic of
Yeah,
like
yeah.
saying, I deal through, and then I'd say, here, shuffle the cards. And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
I'd say, they're mixed, right? And I'd spread them face up and be able to peek the top card. And then I'd do it again. I'd go, shuffle them again. And so I came up with this great way. And then she said, okay, I'll deal them. And you tell me what it is now. And then I'm like, shit, back to the drawing board. So eventually, 3 years later, my dad gave me the rest of the half of the page in the book with the trick. And actually, the trick was nowhere near as good as some of the stuff that I'd come up with myself. In my head, I was like going, oh, this isn't very good. So it really was kind of like at an early age, I discovered that creating your own presentation was almost of more value than just copying what somebody else did. And then I kind of understood, I understood kind of at a very young age that I would rather fail legitimately being who I am and doing what I think is good than have any kind of success pretending to just copy what somebody else has already done. Do you know what I mean? And that's a big thing to chew off, because magicians, we copy everything. There's a bunch of a curriculum of tricks, and we all do them, and we try and make them our own, and we try to do this and that. But the best stuff that you perform is the stuff that resonates with you. If you're a musician and you do a trick about music, and whatever the stuff that you have kids and you do something with that, it's gonna that stuff really will impact you and your audience, because they can sense it. People can smell a phony a mile away, and that's a lot for a magician, where everything is, you're always lying and deceiving for other people's pleasures. Like probably many magicians. I got a gig at a martini lounge that was really popular, doing close-up magic and pickpocketing.
Okay.
My grandfather was also a pickpocket, so I worked doing pickpocket for a number of years. And it goes on and on. I went to Mexico and worked at resorts there. Had a great time doing that for 3 months every year. And then I ended up going down. Finally, I took a break off of magic, and I was working as a hairstylist. I cut my own hair last week, but I was a hairstylist, and I got an opportunity to go headline in Las Vegas at the Riviera. And my friend Scott Lewis, a hypnotist, was performing there, and he invited me down. He says, can you come down and take over the show? So I went down, and I got to meet Ravine, my childhood hero, which is just like meeting Uri to me. I was like, wow, this is incredible. And he saw my show, which was amazing. He's gone. He's passed away now. But it was incredible to meet with him and to perform in Vegas. And so I realized at that point, back home, my boss said, you got to come back to the hair salon and get back to work. Your clients are, where are you? And I said, listen, I can't. He goes, if you don't get back, you're fired. And I said, okay, I quit. So I quit my job, and I just stayed in Vegas. And then me and Banachek met. And then
that's crazy.
Me and Criss met, Criss Angel, and Criss saw the stuff I was doing and wanted to incorporate some of that into the show, and we became fast friends. And I just basically did Vegas for 3 years. After that, I was just there working on the show behind the scenes, then on camera and producing, and that set me off on
the magic.
That takes us up to about 2007.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have a sip of tea now. You can ask me a question.
Wow, you've done a lot. So you met your idol Ravine after after so many years. I mean, you were already doing a show, and then that's the only time that you met him, and it's amazing, right? So with all these things, man, you've done a lot. I mean, you started, you said you were doing some close-up magic shows as well, in bars. Have you done any family private shows in Canada?
Oh, tons, yeah. I mean, I used to do, back when I was hustling, back in the day, when I was doing close-up gigs, I would do, for about 4 or 5 years, I did at least 80 to 100 shows a year.
Okay.
And I had a really good agent back then, so I made a big move one day. I went to this agent, and they said to me, what's your show like? And I said, I just want to perform for you. He goes, I don't care. I've seen the magic. And I did something to him that was very, very strong. It's a trick that I still do. I had a business card, and I wrote something down on it, and I folded it in half, and I gave a stapler, and I stapled it shut. And I go, you take this home, and you open it up anytime this week, and then you call me.
Okay.
And he goes, okay. And he goes, that's the trick? I go, that's the trick. And this agent goes, you know what, we got lots of magicians, there's card tricks, I've seen it all, the juggling, the whole thing. He kind of had it. He booked cruise ships, and I go, just let me do this one trick for you. He went home. It was 2 days later, and my phone rang, and he said, "Are you a $200 a show guy or a $2,000 a show guy?" And I said 2,000. No, it
Wow.
was a 200, but I said 2,000. And he
And then,
goes, "All right, I can book you."
mm.
And the trick that
Whoa.
I did to him, that piece of paper I gave him folded up, it had something written on it. And I told him, "You open this up whenever you like."
Mm.
So he went home. He was the third day. He said he carried it in his wallet in his pocket. Then
Mm.
he got up to go to the bathroom and take a pee.
Mm.
And it was 1:12 in the morning, 12 minutes past 1. He takes a pee and he comes back to bed and he looks at this thing and he decides to open it up.
Oh,
And he opens it up and on it said 1:12. And he looked at his digital alarm clock. It was 1:12
crazy.
when he opened it. And he goes, "I didn't go to sleep for the rest of the night." He goes, "I haven't slept." And he said, "I don't ever want you to tell me how
How?
you did that." And I said, well, I'm not going to. You don't have to worry about that." But that's when he booked me and he said, "That's enough. That's it. That's all I need." He
Wow.
goes, "That's that kind of feeling. You can give
Wow.
that feeling to people."
Yeah.
So I realized at that point in life the power of just doing one special thing for one person, not
Mm.
necessarily stages and as many tables, just one powerful trick for one person. I realized that there's a real weight to that, you know?
That's good. Wow. Congrats.
Well, once we went down to Vegas, and obviously, I was on the MindFreak show for the first 3 seasons, and creating lots of tricks and working with Criss and Vanishek and all of us, and that was the early part of MindFreak. That was when the show, in my opinion, was like really fun because we kind of made it up as we were going.
Yeah.
We're on this network A&E that was art and entertainment, and
Mm.
Criss kind of changed the network with the show, and just we were doing stuff that was just unprecedented. And we were getting, it was a lot of fun at that time because in the beginning, Criss had really struggled walking down the street with, sleeping in a hotel motel with just two
Really?
camera guys in a van and,
Mm.
not being able to get anybody to stop and even watch a card trick.
Wow.
So from that to where he's gone, it was just like,
Wow.
I never forget the day that
Wow.
in the end of season 3, we went Oprah Winfrey.
Mm.
And I never forgot sitting in the dressing room and having Criss and I look at each other and he just kind of went, "Holy shit, we're doing Oprah Winfrey." I go,
Mm.
"You did it. Like that was it." Back in the day, we talk about, we're going to do this and to see it come all the way to
That's
fruition,
inspiring, yeah.
is pretty remarkable. So we both shed a tear there and a hug and did the Oprah Winfrey show. And then, and at the end of season 3, I chose not to go back to do season 4 because, I had, to be honest, I was married at the time and, it was very stressful to be away from your wife and family. I'm sure you can imagine, for 7-8 months straight, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Working 6-7 hours a day, TV's hard work.
Mm.
So I chose to stay home, but that didn't last long. Paul Harris was staying with me
Mm.
at that point, filming True Astonishment series in Vancouver. And so Paul handed me the phone. He said, "Here," and it was David Blaine. And David's like, "Can you come to New York this week?" And I go, "Oh, I didn't know David. I'd never met him." But Paul had told
Oh
him
yeah.
about me. We
Oh,
were talking.
okay. But
So
who?
I ended up flying to New York and meeting David and
Mm.
working with him on his, what is magic special.
Yeah, but was it David Blaine who came out first?
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. David was out a long time ago. Actually, I heard stories from both ends because I'm one of the few people that actually worked with David and Criss.
Mm. Mm.
And I know them both as friends, and I love them both dearly. They're incredible. But there was a point where David was out doing, his stunts, being frozen in ice or standing on the
Yeah.
pole, and Criss was doing a theater show across the way and handing out flyers in the audience. While
Oh
David was
my
out there, David told me,
goodness.
I looked down, I could see him walking around, and good on him though. But and I go, I guess you couldn't do anything being
Yeah.
up on the pole.
Yeah.
But so they were kind of like, I think back then, Criss was just getting started. But yeah,
Wow.
David's legit. He's the OG, man. David changed the world for all of us,
Oh, yeah.
And to be fair,
Yeah.
I don't know if your viewers may know of Doug Henning or not.
Yeah, of course.
Anyone, do you guys know
He's
who
my
Doug
influence. Yeah, Do Henning.
Sure. So yeah, so in Canada, he's a Canadian, so that's why I said here. I mean, Doug Henning brought close-up magic back on TV. He was doing the fickle nickel, and he would do close-up magic on TV, and nobody was doing close-up magic on TV back in the 70s. So Doug Henning, in my estimation, kind of saved close-up magic and brought it to TV. in the set, and then David kind of resurgenced that and changed
Wow.
everything with street magic, right? I mean,
Wow.
that just blew up the world, right?
Wow. That's card magic, not just mentalist or hypnotist. When you do a bar
Oh
show,
yeah,
how do you do it? If it's
anybody
if
usually
if the ambience is noisy, like
go
for
ahead. Sorry.
example, yeah.
Mhm. Like, here's the thing: many magicians. I mean, I started out doing card magic, like gambling and intense. So I'm a real card, nerd. Um, and actually, one of my friends who I just was working with him in LA on his show, Franco Pascali. He has a great show at the Roosevelt called The Magic Show with Theory
Mm,
11,
mm,
and um, he's amazing. And every time me and Franco are there, we just sit with cards for hours and hours.
mm,
And I mentor a lot of young magicians. There's a magician called Camilo, the magician. He's
mm,
from Colombia, but he lives in Canada, and
mm.
he tours a whole theater show with two big
Wow.
TV screens, and he just does cards for a big audience in the theater, and it's incredibly entertaining. So I love cards, but I never get a chance to do them in my stage performances or in my shows because I kind of feel like there's not really a lot of circumstances
Yeah.
that they kind of can fall into what
Mm,
I'm doing. You know what I
mm,
mean?
mm,
But I do love doing card magic. I
mm,
actually enjoy doing card magic casually. To be honest, in my everyday life,
mm,
I'm like
mm,
one of those annoying people who always has a deck of cards and is like
mm.
constantly creating and doing new
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, you mentioned Ron Pink and my brother Ron.
Mm,
He's amazing. We did we wanted to do projects for years. I actually met Ron in Vegas, Ron Pink, and at the Mindvention, the very first one. I was there with Banachek. I think Luke Germain had just come that year. He was like 17 or 18 or something, maybe. I was quite young. And Ron and I had met, and I was doing. We were in the bar. All this mentalist stuff. The first night we're in this bar, and there was a waitress there,
mm.
and she'd come over, and I stood up, and it was loud. I go, I can't hear you, and I whispered in her ear, and I hypnotized her to believe that I was
Oh my
Johnny Depp and went
goodness.
sleep. And she collapsed, and all the drinks went on the ground, and everyone left. And then I said she was bringing me free drinks all night, thinking I was Johnny Depp, and all the mentalists were talking about that. And then the next day, Ron came up to me and said, I want to meet you. My name's Ron. I said, nice to meet you. And I took
Oh
his hand,
wow.
and I started shaking his hand, and I hypnotized him. And you can ask Ron, or I'm sure he'll tell you,
Really?
his arm froze. I hypnotized him in about 30 seconds of meeting him for the very first time. And we became best friends. He thought, even today, he goes, that was the coolest thing ever. I was just like, stunned. And so that was back in there. So since back then, Ron and I were saying, we got to do something. Let's do something. And I don't release a lot of material, as you know. I'm very picky
Mm,
about stuff I
mm,
put out. And 'cause I think, not that my stuff's super special. I just think that there's enough out there that people feed all these markets. If I have something really significant to share, then I will.
mm.
But I have all this excess material
Yeah.
that I created for TV shows, file folders full of it. I have 127 new effects in a folder I
Oh.
found that I'm like, oh my God, I
Oh.
created all these. Because for TV, we have to create
Yeah.
hundreds of
Yeah.
effects all the time to try to.
Yeah.
So all these, so Rand said, let's do something together. I said, well, I want to put out, some material that makes people just a bit more aware of what they're doing, just to be a bit more conscious about it.
Yeah.
And he goes, I like that, conscious magic. And I go,
Oh.
yeah, that's a good name. So we ended up with these, 5 or 6 DVDs,
It's
and we're going to do more. I saw
really.
Ran a month ago in LA, so we haven't announced anywhere, but here for the first time, I'll give you the exclusive that Conscious Magic is coming
I
back.
think it's
So we've
Conscious
got
Magic
incredible.
7 or 6 already.
Yeah, I think it's 6. I think we've got 1 through 6, I believe.
Or maybe there will be an opportunity for me to invite you here in the Philippines. Maybe we can do something for some projects I have in mind as well.
Oh yeah, okay, that'd be great, man. I've never seen. You know what I love about the Philippines? I've never been there,
Oh,
but one of my secret passions that I grew up playing pool. I love 9-ball and pool, and so I grew up playing pool like crazy. And Efren Reyes, I know,
Efren
is
Reyes, yeah.
Filipino champion, amazing. So
Yeah.
some of the best pool players are, and I got a chance to meet Ken Doherty, who's the world champion snooker player in Ireland last year, and played pool with him, and that was amazing. So now I want to come to the Philippines and
Yeah.
I want to go play some pool.
I'll think against those YouTube magicians or Instagram magicians.
Yeah.
But what do you think is the magic today and where is it going?
Well, I think magic has been on the same trajectory that it has been for a long time. I don't think there's all the problems that people think we have in magic aren't exclusive to 2019. These are the same problems people were talking about back in the 1950s, that, all the amateurs are getting into magic and ruining it. And there's all this stuff and all the exposure. And then we had, even in the 80s, all the masked magician, and we had YouTube tutorials and all kinds of stuff. But listen, here's the reality
Okay.
that in magic, it's a two-way relationship between you and your audience. This is just my philosophy.
Okay.
When you do magic, if you're doing magic to take applause from them and to take energy from them for yourself, for your
Mm.
own glory, you're going to end up not doing very well because that will exhaust. But if you're doing magic and you're wanting to give them that same feeling that you had before you were a magician, I read their mind.
Yeah.
It's actually on the process, and I
Okay.
talk about this story. It was the Two of Hearts. She thought of, and I said you couldn't have thought of that card because inside it was face down, and it wasn't the invisible
Mm.
deck.
Mm.
And she was just amazed. But I told her how I did the trick
Mm. Mm.
because I should. When I read her mind, I said this. I said, I think of what kind of card you think of, red or black. Red cards are usually people that are more
Yeah. Yeah.
bright and vivid. Dark
Yeah. Yeah.
cards are more
Yeah.
mysterious people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Seem very, very bright and very. And she goes,
Mm.
yes, that's me, that's me.
Mm.
And then I said, think if it's a heart or a diamond. Hearts would be love, and diamonds would be money. You would always choose love
Yeah.
before money.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
tell you have the price.
Yeah.
So I said,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. I go, who are you here with? And she goes, just me and my mom. I go, just the two of you. I guess so the Two of Hearts. And she goes, oh my God, that's amazing. And she was there with my mom. Then I'll tell you what made it special. She goes, my mom's here getting an operation. She was in the hospital and she's everything to me and blah, blah, blah. And I go, okay, I need to tell you. She goes, this is amazing. Are you a psychic? I said, no, I need to tell you something. When you saw the card, I slipped it out with my pinky and I flipped it around in the
Mm.
deck so it's
Mm.
face down. She goes, yeah, I don't care about the trick. What you said, though, is true about love
Wow.
and my heart. She didn't
That's
care
good.
about the method that she didn't care because I was giving that to her.
Mm.
But if I was taking that from her and I showed her the method, she'd go, oh, so you're not a special person. You're just a
Mm.
guy with a trick.
Mm.
And that's the problem because right now, do a trick in front of anyone. Go ahead and watch them Google on YouTube and go, oh, there's your trick right
Yeah.
here, tutorial.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
can get your trick. So don't put so much weight in the method anymore.
Yeah.
Put it in the performance where it counts. Give people something to
Yeah.
remember, something to talk about, something that's special for them
Yeah.
because,
That's
they
good.
won't turn on that. You know what I mean? They'll
Yeah.
appreciate it. 'Cause it's valuable.
Wow. Oh, Andrew, with all these insights, things that you're sharing to us, this is precious, man. And thank you for giving us your insights in life,
Yeah.
in career, in what you do. You excel in all these things. What's your secret, man? How do you excel in everything?
I don't have any friends.
Huh?
That's it. I don't have any friends and I don't go out of my house. I just work doing all this stuff. I don't no, honestly, I'll tell you what.
Okay.
My whole life is on a calendar and it's on a schedule.
Mm, mm.
So I do make time to hang out with friends, but I get up at 4:30, 5 in
Okay.
the morning usually. I did for years.
Mm.
Lately I've been sleeping a little bit,
Mm.
but I get up early and I
Wow.
go right to work. And every day I do I work on all of my things, whether I'm
Yeah.
writing,
Yeah.
if I'm on set filming something, that's one thing, or if I'm acting,
Yeah.
that's another thing. But when I have time to spend, I'll give you the best advice that I can ever give.
Mm.
Do whatever you're doing, work on a trick, read a book, do whatever it is you need to do,
Mm,
but
mm.
only do it for 20 minutes.
Mm.
And then stand up and walk away for 2 minutes.
Okay.
Get a sip of water, look outside, and get back to it. Your brain refreshes
Oh,
every
that's
20
good.
minutes, and it's incredible. It's
Oh.
incredible because after 20 minutes, after an hour, you're going, oh, God, I can't read now, so I don't
That's
know.
true, that's
you get
true.
lost. But when
That's
you come
true.
down, it's like fresh
That's true.
again. It's like that first feeling. So I do that all day long when I have spare time. That's how I get most of my productivity up because
Mm.
I keep on refreshing myself every 20 minutes. And to be honest, if I'm not being preachy, but
Mm.
I'm a vegetarian. I
Mm.
find the moment that I,
I like
stop
it.
eating
Yeah.
a lot of meat, when I stop eating
Yeah.
meat,
Yeah. Yeah.
I woke up and became very more
Yeah.
aware, and everything seemed to be better. I know
Yeah.
in the Philippines, there's probably lots of meat eaters there, and there's a big, the culture is based around meat dishes. I know,
Yeah.
but try and eat a little less meat for a week and see how you feel. I bet your productivity goes up through the roof. Yeah, this is my challenge. Can I make a challenge to
Yeah,
all of the
go
people
ahead.
watching right now? The
Yeah.
magicians? All right, this is my challenge. Every one of you, I want you to film yourself doing your trick while you're in quarantine. Film one trick to the camera and type in the description saying, I'd like you to enjoy this trick and I'm giving it to you to put a smile on your face. I hope you love it. But I ask you one thing. Please do not like this link. Do not comment on this link. Just share it and see how people respond. See if
Okay.
people honor that. Try and do it without getting a like, without getting a comment,
Yeah.
without getting anything.
That's good.
Just put it out there.
That's good.
Yeah,
That's
and
good.
don't forget to tag. Just kidding.
We're tagging. So let me go back again with the magic. Like
And
mentalism, magic, and
subscribe.
hypnosis. Come again?
Yeah,
Yeah, yo, mentalism, magic, and
yeah. Don't forget to
hypnosis.
subscribe.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
exactly,
how do
exactly,
you do you
exactly.
do you categorize them as different things like magic being a mentalist and hypnosis? Like for me, I see it like they're all connected. So how do you define it? Like in what you do?
I don't. They are all connected, and they have been years ago, since the 1920s and 30s. There was magicians that would have on their posters hypnosis, magic, juggling. They
Mm,
would do everything. It's all connected. I think. I think right now the term, and there was a while, I don't know if it was there, but in North America there was a while that nobody wanted to be called a magician. They wanted to be called, a perceptionist or
mm,
a
yeah,
psychological,
yeah,
manipulator or some,
yeah,
all these weird terms.
yeah.
And actually, here's a funny story I heard. Um, One mentalist, I won't say who, but went into a magic shop, and there was a very pretty girl standing there, and she said to him, she goes, "Oh, are you a magician?" And he goes, "No, I'm a perceptionist." And the
Oh,
girl thought he said receptionist, like works at the front desk. She goes, "Oh, I'm a receptionist too. I work at a dental." And he goes, "No, no, no, I'm a perceptionist." And he goes, "Let me show you." And she did something for him. And she goes, "Well, that's a cool magic trick." And she just so the viewer, it's this title. I think
yeah,
I
yeah,
think calling yourself a magician is fine.
yeah.
You know what I mean? I
That's
think
good. That's good.
I actually quite learned quite like the term mystifier. I think that's kind of cool
That's
thing. You know what I
better.
mean? Just to mystify people.
Yeah.
You can do that however you like. You know
Mm.
what I mean? It's just like, so yeah. Ideally, I mean, does David Copperfield call himself? I'm David Copperfield, the magician, or
No,
I'm David Blaine, the magician?
no, no.
No, he's
Yeah,
just David Blaine.
yeah,
He's
yeah,
David Copperfield. You
yeah.
just be yourself. You
Mm.
just be KB,
Yeah.
and just do your thing. Don't let them decide.
Mm.
That's all for people to decide. I
Yeah,
think magicians can take the words "I am" out of our vocabulary,
yeah,
because we say, "Well, I am this, I am that." Other people know who you are better than you. Yeah, I'll reiterate one thing if I can, because it's that important. It's that, look in your life at the things that you're interested in the most, and work those
yeah,
into your magic. Talk about real passions, your real desires,
yeah.
truly makes you inspired, and put that in your magic, because you will succeed. I guarantee you. And if you don't,
Mm.
you're better off failing at being who you are naturally than having any kind of success and
Yeah,
pretending to be something you're not.
yeah, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Andrew. And that's a very inspiring words again. Everything that's inside here, I'm
All
gonna
right,
watch it again. Or more than 60 minutes, but I think it's worth watching it
all right,
again
all right,
this afternoon.
all right. Peace and love, man. Take
Yeah,
it easy, JB. Thank you.
be safe. Bye, Andrew.
Much
Thank
love.
you.
Bye.